There are a lot of things about Spare the Rod that definitely wouldn't happen today. This was released in 1954, directed by Jack Hanna. We have Clarence Nash's Donald Duck. It's narrated by Bill Thompson, and Pinto Colvig voices the Pygmy Cannibals. Straight away, you think, okay, Pygmy Cannibals, Disney's going to go with some pretty serious stereotyping. And they do. And Huey, Dewey, and Louie also play a classic game of Indians, if you like, to use an outdated term, and that of course has some stereotyping in it as well. But once you get past that fact, it's an interesting narrative about how Huey, Dewey, and Louie are playing games, and Donald Duck decides to use some child psychology by encouraging them to play the games in order to get the work done. He wants them to chop firewood. If he uses the game to make them play and chop firewood as part of the game, maybe they'll get the job done. Unfortunately, when these pygmy cannibals come along, who happen to escape from, I think, the circus, which in itself is questionable, he thinks it's Huey, Dewey, and Louie dressed up because there are three cannibals of similar height. And he goes along with the cannibals, thinking it's Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and that he's encouraging them to play, and will therefore encourage them to create firewood as part of their game. But obviously, as viewers, we know that that is not the case. How will he possibly get out of this situation? Well, actually, the way he responds is quite violent and much swifter than I was expecting, and I'm sure he swears at one point. He mustn't. He wouldn't have done. But at just one point, it sounds like he swears, where he calls one of the cannibals a name. But maybe he doesn't. I don't know what he said. But I liked it. I did like it. It's always awkward when you like a cartoon that's got some stereotyping in it, but when you have to look past that and appreciate the actual narrative, it's a nice story about how Donald tried to do the right thing and get the nephews to do housework or yard work, and it didn't quite go to plan. It's well animated, but it's stereotypical. The sound effects are really good. I found the sound effects to be really quite delightful, so it's not all bad. In fact, I quite liked it. Except for the stereotyping, of course. But the animation was well animated, well edited, the narrative flowed quite well. It gave us enough time to get used to Huey, Dewey, and Louie playing games before they brought in these cannibal characters and kind of switched them up a bit. Donald's little, his box of reasoning, if you like, his little psychology major on his shoulder was quite trippy because it looked like Donald but didn't sound like Donald, and that's always so unnerving when Donald Duck doesn't sound like Donald. If you're a fan of Donald Duck cartoons, and particularly those with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, I think you'll really enjoy Spare the Rod. It is a lot of fun, questionable, and definitely wouldn't exist today the way it is, but as a product of its time, I think it's pretty well done.